Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Million Dollar Media. I'm your host Max Kellerhalls, and this is our final review for the original series of Avatar the Last Airbender for Avatar Month with Book 3, Fire. And returning with me today, I have
Adrian.
Yo, what's up? I'm Kris.
你好，我是 I'm Eamonn.
Hi, I'm Joelle.
You know who it is. It's Chinggis Eon.
Hell yeah. All right. And yeah, Book 3, aka my favorite season of all of Avatar. Just what an incredible season and finale to an all around amazing show. This is the best season. It's got the best writing, it's got the best action, the best animation, great character arcs. Oh man, I just can't gush enough about this season in particular.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure this one's like a favorite for everyone. Like, this is where we have like big character development, but also big changes in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely a good season, especially to end off on.
Mm-hmm.
It really does have it all. Satire, trauma, and the great big finish at the end.
Uh-huh. Shit, you're right about the satire. Oh man. I think if we're gonna start this review off, I just think that I'd rather just get my negative out of the way first. Like the only thing I don't like about this season is the headband episode. But even that episode has some really interesting lore in it. Even isn't it like the second episode though of the season?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's episode number
Okay, then yeah, like it's not a big negative. That's why I'm getting out of the way right off the bat. That way we could just move on and talk about all the good shit. I just don't like it because I just think it's like a weird I don't know. I think it's the perfect calm before the storm episode, but if it's not my favorite one of those, I guess what I'm just trying to say is just like I don't think that the Footloose story belongs in Avatar. But
Yeah.
that being said,
I would disagree.
I will. All right, I don't mind debating this, but I do think that it has some really interesting like behind the scenes of looking at what it's like to be a normal kid in the Fire Nation.
Exactly, and that's kind of why I think that it's an important episode to include, because it shows that there's all this brainwashing going on within the Fire Nation, which does have like some historical basis, and it's really interesting to see this remnant of the Aang that we met in season 1. Like, he
Yeah.
hasn't changed from this very fun, carefree kid, even though he's gone through so much.
Yeah.
And I can understand how some people would see that as a step backwards. So I can respect that you think that this is kind of a downside to the season, but I do think that it's an important thing to include.
Yeah, I guess it's just again, I only bring it up because if we're going to be like being a fair review and retrospective of this season, you have to talk about everything you liked and disliked. So I'm just saying right off the bat that
Sounds like you just don't like Footloose. Sorry.
Ooh.
Yes, Max hates Footloose, actually.
Moving on.
He's deflecting.
I like you, Kevin Bacon. I just don't like
Max,
film.
what has Footloose ever done to you? Echoing silence. Anyways, let's move on.
Oh, there's one other thing that I like, is that it kind of like really pushes the Katara and Aang relationship forward a bit.
I concur.
I like that. And
Yeah.
even though it does come like a little bit out of nowhere in the episode, I think that moment's really cute for their little relationship and shipping. Yeah, does anybody else have like a least favorite episode of the season?
Nightmares and Daydreams. The episode before the whole Day of the Black Sun. I did not like that episode.
Oh.
Really?
It is essentially just Aang becoming paranoid and pushing everyone away because he's sleep deprived. Which honestly, I can relate, but still, I don't think that it belongs in here.
I guess where we disagree is like, I'm not a big fan of the humor from the Footloose episode, but I am a big fan of seeing Appa and Momo and just battle it out with their with the actual voice actor doing like
Okay,
really
that is
funny-
kind of funny.
like that shit is hilarious. And also the moment where like the guru just comes in and goes, chakras, chakras, get your chakras.
I forgot about that part.
Yeah, so I guess no one else has a least favorite episode.
No, there's a few that, just based off the titles and not remembering exactly what they're about, but I don't think anything's strong enough to be really disliked.
All right, well then we could just move on to the good shit. I think that like what I love about this season is that it's a good mix of like quote unquote the filler episodes, but each filler episode like you still get a good piece of each character. Like before we started recording, we talked about the Sokka episode where he gets the meteor sword. I know a lot of people say like, well, Sokka already had the trusty boomerang. He already had an interesting weapon. But what I like about this episode that it really just showed like if you were to take any of these characters out of the show at all, like it would just fall apart so quick. Because like Sokka is just like he feels like he doesn't belong. So I love the part in this episode where like the rest of the gang are just chilling out in the fields and everything like that, and they're just like, "You guys got any funny jokes?" And they just can't think of anything funny to say. I like Sokka-centric episodes, honestly. That's just my thing.
Yes, we know you like the older brothers.
Yes.
So doesn't that episode also kind of allude to Sokka joining the White Lotus later? Or is that just something I made up in my brain?
I wouldn't doubt it.
I mean, it would make sense because Piandao was part of the White Lotus eventually.
I think he was always a part
Yeah.
of the White Lotus. Yeah, like he gives them the White Lotus piece.
It's one of the episodes I remembered off the top of my head and I really like him because you finally get to see Sokka develop by himself and work on his skill that he could be soon to be more useful in a fight.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this season has my favorite filler episode of the entire series.
Go on.
Which happens to be the episode directly after this one, because I loved the beach episode.
Yes!
Yeah.
Beach episode.
It was just so good. I loved seeing more of the dynamic between kind of the antagonist group, I guess, with Azula and Mei and Ty Lee and Zuko, and seeing how Azula actually functions out in society, which is to say that she doesn't really, but she tries.
It's the only time you ever get to see the possibility of like maybe she can be normal.
Yeah.
No.
And then it all gets washed away.
Yeah, real quick.
We see how self-aware she actually is, and I really appreciate that about like the end of this episode.
I love when the guys are trying to flirt with her and she just completely just like starts talking about like killing people and war tactics and everything. The guys are just like,
yes. These are definitely normal things for a teenage girl to say. Definitely.
I know you're joking, but you're probably not far from the truth.
No comment. So also loved seeing the reconnection of Zuko and Mei in this episode and actually kind of establishing them as people that actually like each other. Love a good animated emo couple, I guess.
For real.
All that went through my head is he was a boy, she was a girl at the beginning of Skater Boy by Avril Lavigne.
Oh my god. I also think this has some other really funny moments where it's like, what are the two like elderly like caretakers names? Something
Lee and Lo.
Lee and Lo.
Lilo.
They have a moment where it's just like, now to the beach, and they just disrobe. Naked grandma.
Like, how are they related though to the royal family?
I think they're caretakers.
Yeah, I just think that's the like when a rich family has like a caretaker and the matriarch or patriarch passes away and they just kind of keep them along just because like well they're part of the family now.
Yeah, Alfred.
Yep. Damn, for real.
I don't know how to take that comparison.
I'll take it.
It's the first thing that came to my mind. There are others out there, but it's the first thing, okay?
I mean, from what I've said, it's kind of not too far off. The comparison also goes down to these caretakers having to take care of really mentally ill people.
He's out of line, but he's right.
Yeah.
No, we already talked about Azula, but I liked how showed even with her mental disorders, she's still just a teenage girl and still wants to socialize, even if she's not good at it.
Mm-hmm.
True, because especially this season, we have to remember she's 14 doing all of this shit. Like, she knows she's fucked, but also she's still trying to be somewhat of a kid. But I feel really bad for her that her entire childhood was learn how to conquer the world, and now, hey, not even adult, we're gonna conquer the world.
Well, she's a prodigy. Like she's always been like a firebending prodigy, and like she's always been daddy's favorite kind of thing. Like
She also didn't have Iroh, so
that is also
let's
true.
be real.
And the mom kind of like dipped, so that's not good for her mental health at all.
Not of her own volition.
Zula might not see it any different.
Exactly. Because like towards the end of the show, I know we're skipping ahead a little bit, but we're talking about someone's mental health here, so I think it's only fair. Like she's like seeing her mom like just say this like, oh, you're like, oh, is it like you just have this most beautiful hair, and like she's like, shut up, like you're not even there, and just like throws the comb at the mirror. There's clearly like some level of like hatred or
Resentment.
Thank you. There again for her mom, and like I don't know. It's just very fascinating. Like it's a good way to give a character that's not. I wouldn't say thoroughly unlikable, but like it's a good way of giving pathos to a character that is not a good person, and the show is clearly trying to show that this is a bad person.
I think another perk to the beach episode is that Zula and her friends get to get off some steam and have fun with some friendly arson.
We love just a little bit of arson as a treat.
Mm-hmm.
Little.
Okay, maybe a lot.
What did they burn down in total? Just a net in some dude's house.
Yeah, nothing too big.
And nothing major. Also, burn some hearts to ashes. You know,
Oh yeah, like
a little overly competitive volleyball. You know.
still has my favorite gif of like when Zuko takes off like his shirt and all the girls are just like, oh.
The birds taking off in the background.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like that's like the showrunners just kind of like poking fun at like the fan base a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, it's a beach episode. They know what they're doing.
You put that in
You know
perk.
exactly what they did, especially because considering back then, like, you wouldn't have seen people on the beach.
Mhm.
They put people on the beach. Look at what they put Ty Lee in.
Well, so I kind of want to move on from like the beach episodes and stuff like that because I think one of the cool things about this season, unlike any of the other seasons where you get a little bit of it, is you really get to see like the culture behind the Fire Nation and like the influences and stuff like that. And when we talked about the headband episode or the Footloose episode, what influences from like real life Asian cultures did you see in that where it's like even to the point where like they have to like do a Fire Nation pledge over the intercom and everything like that? I can kind of see where that's coming from, but I kind of want to hear what you have to say about that.
I'm curious, what did you think that inspiration for like the Fire Nation's little chant over the intercom was from?
Well, I have two schools of thought here. I have from a Western influence, it's just how like in school you'd have to do we'd have to stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance in class. There's that influence, but I also, if we want to talk more about the Eastern influence, I would almost compare it to like what goes on in like North Korea about like families having to pledge allegiance to a very particular person, kind of like how in the show it's the Fire Lord, but in real life it's Kim Jong-un. That's what I see at least, and I think it's just more that case because in this episode in particular, we talk more about like these social restrictions that are being taken away, especially like artistic freedoms that are being taken away, like through dancing, through music. Like, I don't know, just a lot of like personal freedoms just being taken away from people. That's where I see the more North Korean aspect of things, but I could definitely be wrong, so I want to get your input on that.
No, I'd agree with you. I'd say it's a mix. Like you can say it's all of that. Like all countries do it,
Mm-hmm.
but it sort of reminds me of like you said, modern day North Koreans doing that. Like it, like I know you love the show. What's it called?
Crash Landing
Crash
on?
Landing.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
and they have that scene.
Good show. Just
And-
want to say that. Good show.
And like they do it in China too, but I think if we're going with like the theme of what the Fire Nation represents, it's kind of like how crazy the Japanese were during World War II,
Mm.
and like that's where I sort of see that.
Yeah, that's what I saw too. Was I saw a lot of influences drawn from the militarism of around World War II era Japan.
I
Yeah,
agree.
because like you can definitely see it in the whole. It was in episode one. They got a submarine, while the rest of these Asian-looking nations, yeah, they got a flying bison in a regular boat, not a submarine.
And
And that's sort of
sticks.
how
They got
that's sort
sticks.
of how
Yeah.
it's sort of how like the Japanese
Good.
rolled up on like the Qing dynasty and other Asian neighbors.
Shit.
But hold on, do we ever figure out why the Fire Nation has such advanced technology compared to all the other nations?
Well, they
I was going to say, where's the white man doing giving the Fire Nation
you
all this technology?
I think it was in season 1. There was the one air temple with the
yeah, the
wheelchair and the people
doctor.
with glasses.
Yeah. There was that. I think the only white people that are in Avatar are the hillbillies in the swamp.
Yeah.
I'm going to argue they're like Vietnamese, but I can see that.
All right.
I
But
can
I
see the
think
influences of Vietnamese people, but they act a lot like Florida Man.
yeah, that's why.
I'm Vietnamese and I was born in Florida, so you could argue they're based off of me.
I just want to see Yen cosplay as one of those guys now.
I'm going to stop right there. I was about to say something offensive. I
But I
guess
think I do have an answer to like the technological advancement aspect of things. In that, like, compared to like most other like nations and elements, like they have the ability since they're firebenders, they have the ability to smelt things and burn and like melt things down. So metal and like rare elements like that become more
workable,
workable
malleable.
and accessible to people to firebenders. And like if you look at their military, it's a mix of both firebenders and non-benders. So they've always like had this good mix of how they like use their particular warriors, kind of like how the Northern Water Tribe does. But like but as you see, like all of the soldiers have like some like metallic armor, metal face plates, and like metal spear-tipped weapons. So I just think that they were always more like how do I say this, like acceptable of their like non-bender counterparts and to just be like the best possible military they can be.
That kind of reminds me of how Tang Dynasty China was, and that's also another supposed inspiration for the Fire Nation.
Okay.
It's like using your non-benders, just like I guess utilizing the non-Han ethnic groups and using their specializations to form something greater. I don't know.
You would know more than me, but I just wanted to bring that up because I always that's what I always got is that like compared to like any of the other nations, they were the ones that had access to rare earth materials, even though earthbenders could just easily do their own thing.
Well, I kind of just thought about it. I asked the question, especially. Oh, obviously, we don't know really with the air nomads because they're kind of dead. But at least with the Earth Nation and Water tribes, they all can like manipulate their surroundings. Like we
Yeah.
see the Northern Water tribe, they build their own structures out of snow and ice.
Mm-hmm.
In Earth Kingdom, all their stuff is built out of stone.
Mm-hmm.
But fire, you can't really build anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I would just say, like, you're bringing up an interesting fact in how, like, there's an episode that I really like in this season that I kind of want to just jump to real quick. It's called the Firebending Masters. What I like about that is it demonstrates that, like, yeah, like from most of the series, like we've always seen firebenders as the more destructive, like benders, and well, I mean they are the quote unquote bad guys of the show. And this is the episode where we really see that, like, no, the tradition of firebending wasn't always destructive. Like when the dragons breathe their fire, like you see the whole spectrum of colors of fire and how beautiful it looks. It's more beautiful than looking at like a sunny day kind of look. It's just one other thing going back to like the firebending nations like culture. I found a really interesting like theory and fact is that like someone found it's really interesting how like the Fire Nation stamped out that the idea that dancing is and put in the idea that dancing is bad. Yet the thing that helps Aang and Zuko not die from firebending, from dragons, is doing the dragon dance. Think
It's
about
called forgetting your roots.
that. Exactly. But it's just an interesting like little detail that I like that the show put in there, and that like, oh yeah, like all these things that are put in place about the Fire Nation today were caused by these men in power that are just like, we need to make ourselves the strongest and take out any form of weakness that we possibly can, even though that's kind of what their culture is based on.
Might be controversial, but that really reminds me of the Cultural Revolution in China.
You would know more about that than me, honestly. So do you mind going into that a bit more?
Don't remember as many details as I should, but I think it was around the 40s or 50s. No, that's where Mao Zedong and the other communist leaders wanted to focus more on the future and making China a great nation, and viewed the historical culture and anything owed to as either weak or not part of the communist ideals. So they destroyed a lot of artifacts, and a lot of educated people think were put in prison or maybe executed.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. But yeah, before we move on to talking more about the show again, I kind of want to, yeah, and is there any more like cultural things you want to talk about, like that you noticed?
I mean, I'll go real quick, a little bit into the Fire Nation and then into a little bit of the Water Tribe. Right, with the Fire Nation, too, like, I'll be honest, like, all these things are just like an amalgamation of a bunch of Asian stuff that they just crammed into one thing. But, like, if you look at their uniforms, it's also sort of inspired by Southeast Asian kingdoms. If you look at, like, how the collar portion of their armor looks, how it looks like it sort of rises upwards. And even, like, the crown that Zuko wears kind of looks more Southeast Asian.
Yeah. All right. I guess we can then just move on to going back to talking about the show real quick. Like, I know there was a couple like episodes that we really wanted to talk about. I kind of already talked about my Sokka episode, but
Alright, so you guys are gonna hate me. I have two favorite episodes because I like the dynamics between them. I like the Painted Lady episode, which I think is like episode 3.
it's a
Yeah.
good, I like that episode too.
And then also I like how it like a little contrasted to episode 16, the Southern Raiders. You just see Katara
Oh,
in two
yeah.
totally different mental states, and
Yeah.
I live for it.
You're so right.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like seeing the overly like motherly side of like Katara and like wanting to protect this village that she just came across. Like she has no tie to this village.
Yeah.
She just sees that they're in need of help, and she just decides to do this thing. And I like how she
Yeah.
becomes like her own little vigilante, kind of like the blue spirit that Zuko was doing. My bad. And then with
Yeah.
speaking of Zuko,
And we
but,
see
like,
the angry teen girl instead of the motherly figure. Zuko, 10 out of 10, was just, he pulled an Iroh. He's like, alright, we're gonna get revenge. JK, you're gonna chill.
yeah, I don't know.
We love some feminine rage, and then like the redemption arc just coming in and just giving it a very wholesome kind of ending.
Yeah, well, I would say wholesome because the episode literally ends with like Zuko looking at Aang and just going like, "So you gonna kill my dad or what?"
Listen, there are limits to everything.
I'm just saying that's how the episode ends. But I do love that episode. It also really fixes like what happened at the end of season 2 with between those two characters, and like
Yes.
it does like make a logical story-based sense why they would now be on the same team, and like really shows how far Zuko will go to like help his new friends, and I like that too. This show episode also has like two of my favorite little moments. The first moment is when Zuko goes to get information about Katara and Sokka's mom by going to Sokka's tent. And like you first see like Suki
And
like
he's wearing the leg.
no, like you see Suki like just go to the tent. He's just like, "Oh, you have to go speak with Sokka." And she's like, "Oh, no, you can go in." And then you see Sokka just like turn around and just go, "Well, hello." Great moment. And
For
then my
real.
other favorite moment that's kind of funny but also like really terrifying is when you see Katara do bloodbending again, and you just see the look of pure horror in Zuko's eyes, like, holy shit, you can do that?
Yeah, because Zuko wasn't traveling with the gang
No.
at that point.
Yeah, it's just like a perfect, like, I love the way it was drawn, just like the, Jesus Christ.
He's like, this is the girl who offered to fix my face.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that scene in itself just shows like how angry she is and like how like ready to like kill she is, and just like, I don't know, I love that moment. That just it's a funny moment yet a very terrifying moment, all rolled up into one. But yeah,
She contains multitudes.
that's what I love about this character. That's why she's one of my favorite characters
She's
of all
like an
time.
onion.
Shut up.
Now I need to edit the picture in. Congrats.
Yeah, have fun, future Max.
All right. Well, Eamon, did you say your favorite episode?
We already talked about Sokka and the painted lady in the beach episode, but we haven't talked about the puppet master.
Okay, well, Joelle.
Okay, listen. I love the Puppet Master because we are introduced to bloodbending, and I came across this theory the other day about how Hana is the real reason that the firebenders showed up at the southern water tribe and ended up killing Katara's mom. Because they were looking for a fully formed waterbender
Mm-hmm.
who was super dangerous, who had escaped,
Mm-hmm.
right? Leading us to believe that it was Hana, who
Mhm.
would have been someone who escaped from the prison, and they would have been searching for her, and we find out that she is super dangerous
And around the
because she
same
can
age
bloodbend.
as Katara and Sokka's mom at the time. Like, if you look at the way they're drawn, they look very similar.
Yeah, especially when she's young, yeah.
I would believe that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I really like that theory. I think that this episode is super important for Katara as a character.
Oh, yeah.
But at the end of the episode, Hama is just vindicated
Yeah.
in that she made Katara learn bloodbending.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of viewed as this corruption of her because she has been developing her healing. And so learning how to kind of violate someone's bodily autonomy in this sort of way
Ugh.
is a very dark turn for her powers.
Especially on a Nickelodeon show.
Yeah, it's a kid's show, everybody. Nothing to see here.
Like, all the things that you just said there are, like, on paper what it is. Like, straight up, that's what she's doing when she does this power, or when anybody would do this power. Like, yeah, brought to you by the same channel that has fucking SpongeBob on it. But another thing that I like about that episode, too, is just, like, from a technical aspect, I love just, like, the moment when she just, like, fuck it, I'm just going full Baba Yaga, and like becoming this like witch kind of character. Like, they just draw her in the creepiest of ways possible, just like really using the dark shadows, and like, I don't know, as someone who loves like really good animation and using animation as like a means of storytelling, and like in just the medium in general, I love getting to see just the overall look of the episode, and just those scenes in particular, and like, so good.
I agree. From what I remember, it's a very cool toned episode in general.
Well, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially for this season, when, like, as you said, like, we're in book 3, Fire. It's mostly warm tones, and like the characters are all in like black and red, and the overall aesthetic is a little bit more orange.
Exactly. It's very discordant with the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm. And especially the fact that like this is a person from the Water Tribe, it makes sense. And it also
It's like
shows
a Halloween special.
it is. It's like, it really does feel like a Halloween special. That's what I love about it. And like,
There's in the beginning of the episode the horror story. It's like, ooh, like
Mhm.
scary campfire vibes.
yep,
I mean, it was released November 9th of 2007.
that
So
makes
just
sense.
after. That's interesting.
that's
But yeah.
good. That makes sense. All right, so we can just move on to the Day of Black Sun, which is kind of like this. I don't want to say it's like a mid-season finale because it's right after the middle of the season, but it almost acts like a soft finale because it's like an end game moment where we bring all the characters back from all the seasons of the show to do this big battle and fight against the Fire Nation. And what I love about it, kind of like Infinity War now, and if you really think about it, it all goes to shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, to your point, when this originally aired, Day of Black Sun Part 2, The Eclipse, aired November 30th of 2007. The rest of the season didn't come out until July.
Oh, really?
Of 2008.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Thank you. Yeah, I would be pissed. That makes sense to me because upon rewatch, it was a really weird like disconnect of like, okay, this feels like a big finale, and then another finale comes out like a couple episodes after this. I like both finales. It just feels weird story wise, or at least when you're watching it in a marathon. But I still really like the episodes.
Well, I think they might have meant for it to be like 2 different seasons. Not gonna lie. Because the Day of the Black Sun feels like, you know how at book 2 we left off on a big cliffhanger, you know, Aang got struck by lightning and all that.
Mm-hmm.
The gang was like in disarray. It could have been another cliffhanger one like that, especially because it's 11 episodes,
Uh-huh.
and then the other ones are 10 episodes. And I think book 2 and 1 were shorter.
I can see that.
Like,
Also because I heard that there was some interesting behind the scenes like troubles, and I hate to say it, mostly because of the live action movie that was on the horizon. Because
yeah.
we were, I guess I shouldn't really jump ahead too much, but might as well just bring it up now that we're talking about it. We were originally going to get a 4th season of the show, but they instead decided to put all their time and effort into making sure that the live action movie went forward.
That makes me a little more upset, actually.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's a reason why at the end of the series, I mean, shit, we're kind of jumping ahead. They end off on that major story thread that just doesn't go anywhere unless you read the search. So that's the reason why, like, I could believe the idea of, like, this was supposed to be more seasons. But if I didn't tell you guys that, would you guys have noticed, really? Because I think that, all in all, these 3 seasons act as a really good beginning, middle, and end, like a good 3-act structure.
Yeah,
I
I
mean-
don't think I would have really noticed, but now that I know that that's kind of where they were thinking about going, it makes Korra having 4 seasons make a lot more sense to me.
Yeah, one of the things I like about Day of Black Sun, going back to that, I don't know, I like that it ends on like a little bit of a disappointing note of like, oh yeah, this thing we've been building up for like multiple seasons, just, yeah, no, it got screwed over.
I think it really did help make it feel like the odds are still stacked against them. Because even as hard as they tried and planned, and they did like everything within their power, it's still gonna take the Avatar at his full strength, actually catching the Fire Lord and stopping him to put this all to an end.
No, yeah, like, I agree, and like, it also feels kind of like a real war, and like, oh yeah, information just gets out to the enemy, and like, your entire battle plan that you had planned just doesn't work in the end. And there's nothing you can do about it but just hope to God that you at least someone can continue the fight. But yeah, I guess if no one else wants to talk about Day of Black Sun, we could talk about.
Boiling Rock Part 1 and 2.
Hell yeah, I love this episode. I love these episodes. I like the Boiling Rock episodes, kind of like how I like the Katara and Zuko episode. Just you get to see like Zuko interact with like different members of the Avatar gang, and you really see how well these two work together. In particular, they're just like, okay, this is the plan, like you tell me what to do, we'll do it, like we'll execute the plan. And I just love like all the characters you get to meet in this prison. I don't know, I love a good prison escape
Oh yeah,
sequence.
love it.
Andor did one. This is just as good as that, in my opinion. And I love the giant fucking guy they meet in this prison, who's just like this really chill dude who's just like,
Yeah.
who's just like, I don't know why, he's just my favorite character. And I think one of my favorite parts that he does is like Sokka's dad tries to start a riot by like picking a fight with the big guy, and the big guy's just like, I'm trying to work on my anger. It's like, oh, okay. And this guy they just met is just like, if you want to start a prison riot, watch this. Picks up a random dude. Hey, riot! And everybody just goes, including the guy that was like, oh, I shouldn't be working on my anger, but this is too much. Like, I love that he just becomes a part of the team.
Yeah.
Like at the end, he's like, hey, I'm here too. Yeah. And you don't even know why he's in prison. He could be in prison for legit reasons.
Because he can't control his anger.
No, I'm talking about just the regular guy, the guy that they just,
Oh, yeah.
Why is he in prison?
Considering we have a few prisoners of war in there, it's safe to assume he either tried to betray the Fire Nation or did something against the military.
He talked bad about his overlord. Very North Korea.
Thank you, Adrian. Another thing I like about these 2 episodes is pretty much all the girls are just really they really steal the
They
show.
all get a good scene. It's so awesome.
It's so good. Like Suki steals the show. May gets a good heartfelt moment with Zuko. Like Ty Lee coming in clutch at the very end.
And then the breakdown begins.
Oh yeah, the spiraling just starts now.
She's slipping. Something's off about her. I can feel it.
The mentally ill cut bang, maybe?
Everything with the girls in these 2 episodes just show a lot of development. It's awesome.
I love the moment where Suki just kidnaps the warden because they're just like, hey, we just need to get the warden somehow. She's like, got on it, and just climbs up the wall, takes out all the guards, takes out the warden, and all the guys are just like, that's some girl.
I did it.
All right, but
Shut up.
before we get into the finale, I think there's one episode we do have to kind of mention. I think you brought up satire earlier, and I think that this episode of it's pretty much like a recap episode before the finale of look of where we've been, and
Look at our old selves.
yeah, and I think they do it in such a clever way of the little Ember Island players and seeing the production of their story.
I do not act like that.
Toph character.
Which
A
is
big, burly man.
which was supposed to be her original, which is just this big burly dude with a bunch of kids.
The boulder uses sound waves.
Oh yeah. Oh, Eamon, I know you brought up the Great Divide as your favorite episode, but I do really find it funny how they just kind of make fun of that episode in this. But it's like, oh look, it's the Great Divide. Maybe we should go down there. Nah, let's skip it.
I'm not sure if it's really my favorite episode. It's just an episode that stuck out to me.
Oh.
There's a random scene from that. Your scar's on the wrong side.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but Katara's character constantly sobbing about her mother.
More accurate.
And her getting upset about it. I don't talk about mom that much. And then everybody's just like, well.
Actually.
It was a lot of them denying that they misinterpreted them. Everyone but Toph.
Oh yeah. I love that they make fun of the fact she's a blind girl going to see a play. Of course she's not gonna enjoy it. She just likes
I
it.
don't
And
know.
then she's the only one who
I
enjoys
think he did
it.
a great job.
I think they did a great job. And then I love the part where they make fun of Princess Yue. And and then Suki's just like, wait, your girlfriend turned into the moon? And he's just like, yeah, I know. And he's still broken up about it.
We forgot to mention it in the Boiling Rock episode because Zuko and Sokka talk about it, and Zuko's just like, that's rough, buddy.
I live for socially inept Zuko. He just doesn't know how to handle so many things.
This season cemented Zuko as one of the best characters in all of
Yes.
fiction. From the social ineptness of him getting to finally be a part of our main crew and not hunting them down, even though they make fun of that. You get to see him stand up to his dad. You get to learn who his ancestors are, and that's really cool. Finding out that not only is he the grandson to Fire Lord Sozin, he's also the grandson of Avatar Roku, which that's crazy that he is in some way connected to the Avatar. Iroh definitely has a back seat in this entire season, but that was for reasons of the actor passed away, so we have to figure out a way to deal with the situation. But I think in the last season they dealt with the Iroh character in a very meaningful way, less is more kind of thing. And
Yeah, that goes into during the Souls and Comets episode where they meet, where he catches up with Iroh at the White Lotus camp,
Mm-hmm.
and you see that scene, and it just comes crashing down. It's just the most heartfelt interaction between the two.
Yeah, he's just like, I am so sorry. And like, this is the first time you actually get to see him, like, no walls are put up, that he's not putting on any show or like bravado of toughness. This is just a boy, like, apologizing for hurting someone that he really loves, and the person accepting his apology, knowing that he knows why he did it, but he's glad that he came around and is now doing the right thing. Like, it's so good. Like, such a great, well written and performed moment. Like, I know we really haven't been talking much about actors and specifically, but like Dante Bosco really just brings it in that episode and makes his character just so special.
Comparing this interaction between Zuko and Iroh and his apology and the reconciling of the two versus when Zuko is finally accepted back by his father, and it's for all the wrong reasons, and it's for being someone that Zuko isn't, versus Iroh seeing this growth in him and who he really is.
Mm-hmm.
I just really love that dynamic, that sometimes the people who really get you aren't the people you expect.
Exactly. Going into the finale, you really get to see why this character, just the growth that he's gone on, and why he deserves to become Fire Lord. Yeah, like, what a great finale. It's epic. I love each and every person's little journey they go on. Like, I like seeing Iroh and the White Lotus take back Ba Sing Se, Sokka, Toph, and Suki taking out the airships, Katara and Zuko taking out Azula. Great fight. I think that might be my favorite firebending fight in this entire series. Just seeing like this, just walls of flame, just like going at it, and just like they cut all this, like the sound effects out except for like the sound of like a hose. It's so good.
I mean, I really like the bonds between the characters, especially between like Sokka and Toph
Mm-hmm.
towards the end of the finale, like when they're taking out the airships and stuff. Like, especially when Toph is just hanging off. Toph like has to totally trust Sokka. She's blind.
Oh, really?
I meant like her feet aren't touching the ground. She can't see her normal way.
No, I got what she was saying.
Adrian being difficult.
No, just being an ass.
What's new? Yeah, no, I like that little arc. I like the like moment where they're like, "Well, this might be it. Good to know you. Like, you're a great friend," kind of thing. Then Suki comes in. By the way,
I wanted to bring up Katara versus Azula. Well, first, we're going to mention Zuko deflecting lightning bending, taking that like a champ.
I love where he's just like, "You got a little bit of lightning? I just deflected," baiting her to do it.
Do it, no balls.
Yeah, no balls.
And then Azula does it and targets Katara.
Yeah, like, oh shit.
And then Zuko doing, "Get down, Mr. President."
Yeah.
And then we get this awesome water versus fire scene.
Yeah.
Freaking amazing.
You get to really see how crafty Katara can get. And just seeing like Azula, like in those final moments you see her in the series, just break down crying. You're kind of like, oh Jesus. I remember as a kid, I was like, geez, something wrong with her. Like, I hope she's okay.
Yeah, as a kid, you're so innocent. I'm like, oh man, I hope she gets better.
Yeah, I hope she gets better. Like, it sucks for her.
Man, this is a kid show.
Yeah,
I hope there's a happy ending.
Yeah, like, I don't like seeing her cry. I mean, she's not a good person, but don't cry.
Although after that, I don't think we see her again.
No, that's the last time we see her. I don't know if she's in the search, but I would hope she is. But
yeah, she's in the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I guess we could kind of move into the Aang versus the Fire Lord. I kind of want to get everybody's opinion real quick. I love the final fight, but I do kind of understand why people have a problem with the ending and how like everything gets fixed by something that was introduced like within the last 2 episodes.
I know. I was like thinking that. I'm like going into it. It's like I'm gonna go talk to other avatars and see what they say. Kill them.
Yeah, right. Like maybe they'll have a peaceful solution to this. Nah, fuck them up.
Kill 'em. Avatar Roku, kill him. Yoshi, kill him. The other air nomad, kill him.
Yeah, right. Maybe the air nomad will have a good peaceful solution. Kill him.
Kill him.
Oh,
Throw away your values.
yeah.
Kill him.
For real though, although that kind of just shows that like Aang wasn't brought up like the rest of the avatars.
True.
Like if even the prior air nomad avatar was like, murk this man,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just like, nah, I'm gonna find my own way.
I'm gonna do my own.
All right, I'll say why I like the finale. Instead of it being the Avatar and like all of them coming together in the Avatar state to take out the Fire Lord, it's Aang that ultimately does it, and it's his decision as a character to find the peaceful route. Like, I mean, we talked about this in the first episode we did about like how he will always find the peaceful solution out of anything and not to kill anybody, and that everybody is capable of being good. I also like the design of the lion turtle, and I think when you do eventually learn more about them in Korra, they're really cool. I like getting to hear about them. I like the idea that like in order to do this impossible thing, you kind of have to like let yourself succumb to the worst part of yourself with that whole like push and pull, like the bright orangish red of the Fire Lord and the bright light blue of Aang getting corrupted kind of thing, and then ultimately coming out of it and taking away the power. I love that moment. And I mean, throughout this entire series, Aang has had trouble like having control over the Avatar state, and in those final moments, like he has control over it in stopping the Avatars from killing Ozai, and also when he takes out all the fires by lifting the water up. I don't know. I love that it's Aang that like makes the decision on how the story ends, not some outside threat. But I could totally see why people think this is Deus Ex Machina ending, but to me, I still like it. It's still a really good ending for this character.
Okay, but like also Aang kind of fucks over Korra because then you have, oh, you can take away people's bending.
Well, he didn't know that. That's not his fault.
Would the problem have existed if he had just followed the advice of his past lives and just killed Lord Ozai?
It's been like that with every avatar trying to solve one problem their own way. They neglect something else or accidentally cause something else to happen.
You know what?
That's true. Kyoshi's actions on
Murder.
killing What's-His-Face, the Conqueror, did come back and bite Aang in the butt.
It did. Also, this entire series was kind of Roku's fault, if you think about it.
Roku was trying to get Aang to follow from his mistakes, because like Roku should have killed Sozin.
I could get y'all's opinion, but I still like this ending.
Another benefit or something I found interesting about the way he does is that it's this ancient knowledge he learned from the lion turtle, which is like from the genesis of this world. It's something that none of the avatars would have thought to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right, because didn't like Avatar 1 like get all of the other elements from lion turtles as well? Yeah, you're right. Good point, Eamonn. Oh yeah, just to wrap it up real quick, I love the little epilogue.
Yeah, I'd consider it an epilogue.
Okay, I like the epilogue where it just shows like the three nations are kind of back together. They're all wanting to do a peaceful route of things. Zuko's the Fire Lord. Aang has become like the Avatar to the people. He's wearing his air nomad robes, like traditional like robes. They're now living in Ba Sing Se together, and Aang kisses Katara. And as a kid, I was like, "There's hope." I don't know. I was just like, great finale, just great little button at the end. All the characters are in a nice, happy place. Well, some of them at least. I mean, we talked a little bit about the cliffhanger about Zuko and his mom, but yeah, I guess. What do you think about the very, very ending of this?
Very cute. But honestly, I kind of wish I had it a little more fleshed out. Like, I would have loved to see a cameo from the Cabbage Man after all of his destroyed cabbage carts.
Just one more cabbage.
Yes, one more destroyed cabbage cart, please.
I agree.
Justice for Cabbage Man.
Yeah. Apparently, the actor who plays like the Cabbage Man is coming back for the live action show.
Yes.
Before we wrap up this video, I do want to talk about, since this video will be releasing like the day after the live action show, the first season at least. So I guess what I want to say real quick is just, what are your guys' opinions going into this new TV show? What are your trepidations? What are your hopes? Just the overall thoughts real quick.
I'm just glad that it's majority Asian people being cast.
No, that's a great point. I mean, after the last attempt. It was just white people, but no, yeah, you make a great point that like they're casting accurate to who each character is supposed to be, and also like Aang's a little boy. That's good casting right off the bat. I like the guy that they're getting to play Iroh. Great actor.
I think it's Paul Hyung Lee from Kim's Convenience.
And the Mandalorian. He's in the Mandalorian.
That too.
He's like the guy who's connecting all of those TV shows together, actually. But yeah, he's Iroh. Can't wait for that. But Eamon, what about you? Do you have any thoughts going into this new show?
The One Piece by Netflix was a good show, so hopefully this will be similar. And
That's a good point. Our review for that is actually up in the corner right there. Thank you, Eamon. What about you, Kris?
Alright, so I'm excited, definitely. I'm also interested to see on if they're going to use CGI in later seasons to kind of, make the characters look younger, because obviously they're kids, they're going to grow. But my one thing is, what I've kind of read, it sounds bad, they downplay Sokka's sexism, or like they completely get rid of it,
Okay,
which I feel is kind of,
I'm gonna be honest. When I heard that initially, I was like, "Oh, come on! Why are they like trying to downplay some stuff?" But then I'm like, "Well, that doesn't mean that like he still doesn't have his like biases, and they'll still probably play into it." I just think what they mean is like, if you watch the original show, it's very cartoony on how like he's very like a woman. Like I don't think they're gonna make it that over the top. I think they meant to like say it's gonna be downplayed because them addressing it
Okay.
at all means that it's at least hopefully in the show.
from what I was reading, from the articles I read, that they were trying to take it out completely.
I don't think they are because then what's the point of having the Kyoshi Warriors in this other than to just have
Yeah.
them in there? Then there's no story-based or character-based reason. And plus, I think in one of the trailers you see the actor who plays Sokka in one of the Kyoshi Warriors like armor. So I think they're still gonna do it, but I think like a lot of the show is getting like people are like reading into everything like and trying to like criticize everything because they're like, oh, we want this to fail, or like we're gonna if anything looks bad, we're gonna be on it right off the bat. I just see that a lot on Twitter, so I have to get off Twitter.
I'm just not
You
the
do.
biggest fan of changing characters' personalities. Like,
That's
obviously,
fair.
there's some change between animated and live action,
Mhm.
but if they're taking a big part of the character's personality and
Mhm.
therefore, like, what develops later,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of irks me.
I
So
get
if they
you.
completely take it out, I'm just like,
I get you. I mean, Eamon brought up the live action One Piece, and from what I understood, was like the characters were like one for one, but they were good adaptations for like a live action version. Like Luffy wasn't exactly like Luffy in that over the top, but he still brought that like infectious like optimism that the character had from the show and manga. And that's kind of what I hope that this show does. They aren't like being a one for one and like acting like cartoons. They're acting like just heightened reality versions of what these characters would be.
wait, in the trailer, it looks a lot less happy. Like, I imagine happy, but also that's probably the animated part. Anyway, yeah.
We'll see. What about you, Joelle?
I hope that they don't make the characters too mature too quickly, because that's something that I really
Interesting.
appreciated about the original show, is that throughout the entirety of it, it feels like a natural progression of them coming to a better understanding of the world around them and how they want to interact with it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Like, I hope that they just don't try to jump to what people like about like characters like Zuko. Like, I hope he doesn't like we don't get like season 3 Zuko in this first season. Like, that just wouldn't work for me. Like, that's way too quick of an arc.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
But going back to what Kris said about like the CG thing, about like trying not to make the kids look too old, I think they're gonna do something different. That like instead of like the original series being taking place within one summer, I think this show is going to take it much slower. That way, it makes sense why each time we see these characters, they're a little bit older. Instead of it being 3 months between the clips, it's going to be like 3 years. That way, also, if they do the whole Azula lightning strike thing, Aang will be in a coma for much longer instead of like, I don't know, a couple days or weeks, I should say. That's at least what I think is going to happen. It would make more sense to do that instead of like wasting millions of dollars and making animators miss Christmas to make these kids look the same age for like 3 years. Like I think that'd be a huge waste to do that, but that's just my thoughts on that. All right, Adrian.
Okay, before I share my thoughts, I do have a quick question. How long are these episodes?
Damn.
It does influence my opinion because if they're like One Piece live action long, I hope then they're in a good spot because based off that, they have really good pacing. Right? If they keep it the same, I'll be happy. So I don't really have much because the trailers are super promising.
Mhm.
Everything I've seen and heard is promising. So I'm just excited how they're gonna pull it off.
No, I agree. Yeah, I'm also curious to see what episodes they keep and what episodes they decide to skip.
Yeah, that is true.
Like the one episode that I have heard that they are doing is the panda episode with the spirit Heifei. Yeah, like I think that's an interesting one to keep in, but I also think if you're gonna keep it in, I'm curious to see what you're gonna do with it. I'm also worried a little bit because out of all the trailers, we don't see anything from the Siege of the North, which leads me to believe that this first season is only half of book one, which kind of makes me a little bit worried about that pacing thing that you were saying. About like, okay, then where does this first season end? What's the point in this first season then if you don't end with the Siege of the North? I don't know. That's just me though, and like the only thing that makes me believe that we're going to see it is there's one part in the trailer where you see Katara fight Zuko, and if reasons to believe that's the Siege of the North part. I haven't heard any castings for Princess Yue or any of that, so that's why I say that, or any of the characters from the North.
Yes, that's true.
But then again, they did
From,
cast
like-
Azula, and you don't see her in the trailer. So, which I also will say this: I like that they're bringing Azula in early. I like that change. I might be eating my words by the time the new season comes out, but you know, it'll be this entire section of the video is just like a good time capsule of like what our thoughts are in the moment.
It looks like Amber Met Thunder has been cast this year.
What?
I just looked on Google Images. So
No, wait, no way. Wait, no. There's no way. If that's the case, that is fucking brilliant casting. Hold on, wait, no. No fucking way. That is brilliant casting. Okay, real quick, if you don't know anything about that actress, watch Prey. She is incredible in Prey. And it's the movie with the Predator and the Comanche Nation. She's the main character. She's incredible, great actress. Holy shit. That's awesome. Yeah, that wraps up the series. All leading up to the new season. We all have our opinions on the new season, and the next time we may be doing an Avatar month is for when the second season of the live-action show comes out, which we will be covering Korra. But that's in the near future, and who knows if this new live-action Avatar will get a second season. That's not announced yet, so we'll see. But for now, I guess that's just going to wrap this up. So do you guys want to say anything before we go?
You should like and subscribe it now.
The horrors persist, but so do you.
Is water wet?
No!
Oh wait, no, we need to ask a fire-related question. Dang it.
Instead of a fire question, here's a fire fact. If you take a lit match and put it against the wall, you can't see a shadow because it's literally light. You just see the shadow of the match itself, not the shadow of the fire.
I just burned down my apartment, thanks.
Mission accomplished, Kris.
Yeah.
I have a more important one. Use baking soda to put out a fire. You know what? In honor of Azula, this video is sponsored by BetterHelp.
No!
Thank you, Adrian.
No! Do not give him...
Manscaped.
What?
BetterHelp sponsor us. Please.
Please.
With code $1 million media, you can get 10% off for your.
No!
Steve, we're already pros. Freaking sponsor us, please.
I mean, shit. I mean, if we do tell them to sponsor us, like, hell, why not? Just like, you know what? Yeah, BetterHelp. Watch this video.
If you hate us,
We all
just
need it.
click the thumbs up button down below.
And if you like us, hit the subscribe button.
Yeah.
You'll get more hilarious commentary from
If
us.
you disagreed with anything we said, please let us know in the comments.
If you disagree, hit the bell notification so you can disagree on more videos.
Yeah. if you really hate us, you should support our Patreon right now. For $5 a month, you can see all of our videos uncut.
But that's just for the professional haters.
Yeah. And if you
Anyways, I think we've covered all the bases.
Yeah.
Oh, go check out the Instagram.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Kris. By the time this is released as well, we also have our Valentine's Day special that's been out for a week or two now. Please watch that. Put a lot of effort into that video. It was a lot of fun to record. Also, yeah, follow us on our Instagram. It's at Million Dollar Media. We've released a couple of Valentine's Day cards with the faces, or at least the characters, of all members of Million Dollar Media so far. Click on our profile page on YouTube, and you'll see a link to our Instagram up in the corner in the About section.
And there's also the Spotify that's on it too.
But yeah, that's all we got to say, though. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. This was really fun doing Avatar Month. Thank you again for giving us your expertise on the subject and matter of all of these cultural, and actually, you, Eamonn, too. You brought up a lot of interesting aspects about especially the Asian culture aspect of everything, and I think that's really important to talk about when we're talking about things that are inspired by different people's cultures.
I feel like a college professor that was invited to a podcast. Me and Eamon are basically Professor Udry.
He's a G.
He is.
Dude, he's awesome.
If you're listening to this, you're a real one. All right, we gotta head out. Thank you for listening, and I hope you all have a good day. Goodbye.